بوسط روحي لقيتك تطرز ذكرياتي معوف حبك للأبد للتالي رغم اللي يعادوني ورغم عذالي معوف حبك للأبد.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Respected viewers of Imam Hussein TV, I would like to greet you all with the warmest of Islamic greetings, and that is Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Before we begin tonight's program, I would just like to briefly mention and send my congratulations to our beloved 12th Imam, Imam Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman, for tonight marks a very joyous occasion when it comes to Islamic history. It marks the birth date of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, the savior of our religion of Islam. Joining us tonight, Sayed Hossein al Qazwini, forgive me. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Tonight's program will be revolving around Imam Hussein alayhi salam's life. As you know, yesterday we talked briefly about the early life of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. And Sayed Hussein once again will be talking about Imam Hussein's life throughout his time under his father and until his appointment of Imamat. Before we begin tonight's program, we would just like to ask Sayyid Hussein to send her salams to our beloved third Imam, Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and his loyal brother Abul Fadl Abbas.
Inshallah. Ya. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. Assalamu alayka wa ala al-arwah allati hallat bifana'ik. Alaykum minni jami'an. Salamu Allahi abadan ma baqit. Wa baqiya al-layl wa al-nahar. Assalamu ala al-Hussein wa ala Ali ibn al-Hussein. وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. السلام عليك سيدي ومولاي يا أبا الفضل العباس بن أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته.
السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله الحسين وعلى الأرواح التي هلت بفنائك، خصوصا سيدي ومولاي يا أبا الفضل العباس عليه السلام جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
And what we will be talking about is Imam Hussein's life, until he was appointed as Imam by Imam Hassan alayhi salam. For a lot of us Shias, we don't realize that little time gap that he has between his birth and his Imamat. We always say that the Prophet used to say he is from me and I am from Hussein, and then we skip to his Imamat where he made the ultimate sacrifice, and these are very important things in history as well. Sayyid, could you highlight Imam Hussein's life as an adolescent? What was his life as a teenager like?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa alihi al-Tahirin. First of all, we have to understand that when Imam Hussein alayhi salam decided to make the ultimate sacrifice in Karbala, in which he was, historians say he was 58 years old. Now within these 58 years, most of the times we skip 57 of the years. We concentrate on the first minute that he was born, and then we fast forward until year 61 after Hijrah, and we look at Karbala. Well, what happened during these 58 years? Most of us have very limited knowledge of the life of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. What we have to understand is that, and we'll talk about this more tomorrow evening inshallah, Imam Hussein led a major revolution. He had a major sacrifice, something that most people cannot do. This was a special privilege that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has granted Imam Hussein alayhi salam. These 58 years that led towards the sacrifice of Karbala, Imam Hussein alayhi salam was being ready He was being trained for that day. We talked about how Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would tell him, Husaynun minni wa ana min Hussein. We mentioned that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was giving a message to his companions and to the Muslim nation who Imam Hussein alayhi salam represents. We talked about this. And most speakers, they concentrate on this aspect of wa ana min Hussein, that Imam Hussein is a representative of Rasulullah, and Rasulullah wants to make sure that everyone realizes this and understands this. We also have to realize that this is also a message to Imam Hussein himself. Imam Hussein was being raised, he was growing up, being trained and being ready to represent Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, being trained to give that sacrifice and make that sacrifice. All these ahadith that came from Rasulullah, Al-Hasan wal-Hussein imaman, qama aw qa'ada. Hassan and Hussein are two imams, whether they rise to power or they remain at home without rising to power, meaning not raising a revolution, not starting a revolution. Al-Hasan wal-Hussein rayhanataya min ad-dunya. Hassan and Hussein are the two special ornaments in my life. These are two messages in reality. One message is for the companions, and one message is for the Imam himself. For the Imam to realize that one day he will have to take a very big step, take a very strong position, even if it costs his own life. Coming back to your question regarding the adolescence of Imam Hussein, the adolescence period of Imam Hussein's life. Imam Hussein was being trained. He was being given the full spiritual training that one day he will be sacrificed. One day he will be martyred in the land of Karbala. Whether it came from his mother or it came from his father. He was very well trained, very well educated, very well disciplined. Very well disciplined. Al-Hasan and Hussein were still children. I would assume they were 9 or 10 years old. They went to the masjid one day and they were performing wudu outside of the masjid by the wudu area, and they noticed an elderly gentleman also performing his wudu, but not performing it in the correct manner. And of course, if you don't perform your wudu in a correct manner, this will affect your salah as well.
Yes.
Your salah will become invalid. So Al-Hasan wal-Hussein decided to tell this elderly man, that his wudu is not correct. But they're children. How can children correct the mistake of an older man? Typically, an elderly man would not take advice from young children. So look at their akhlaq. Genuine akhlaq, beautiful akhlaq. This is how you have an effect on people, through beautiful akhlaq. They told him, Ya Am, our uncle, can you be a judge? Me and my brother Al-Hasan and Hussein, we'd like to perform wudu, and we want you to be the judge to see who performs the better wudu, who performs his wudu correctly in accordance to the Holy Quran. He said, I don't mind. When they performed their wudu, this gentleman realized that their wudu is exactly the same. There's no difference between Imam Hassan's wudu and Imam Hussein's wudu. It is then he got the message. They passed on a message in a polite way, in an indirect way, that your wudu is not correct. And this is how you should perform wudu. The man smiled and he said, my dear nephews, your wudu is correct, but your uncle's wudu is incorrect. This requires training. Al-Hasan and Hussein were raised in a household that implemented the Quran, word by word. The Quran says, "Id'u ila sabili rabbika bil hikmati wal maw'izati al hasana." Call onto the path of your Lord with wisdom and with good admonishment. With good admonishment. Today we're in need of this. We're in need of these teachings. You go to some countries, you'd like to pray or you'd like to recite your ziyarah to the Holy Prophet. They come and they tell you that you're performing shirk. that this is polytheism. Instead of advising you, let's say that we are wrong. We're wrong in what we're doing. Is this how you'd like to be effective? By telling the other side? By telling someone who disagrees
Criticizing
with
your belief system.
not just criticizing, condemning, telling them that you're a mushrik.
Which is the worst act a Muslim can
Which is a worst act. Thus, today we're the farthest from, not just from the akhlaq of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but from the akhlaq of al-Hasan wal Hussein. Definitely, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had a major impact on the life of Imam Hussein as well as the life of Imam al-Hasan. I could say that Rasulullah was their first teacher before even Amir al-Mu'mineen, before Fatimah al-Zahra alayhi salam. He was the first teacher. As we mentioned yesterday, that al-Hasan and al-Hussein would enter the masjid in and out as many times as they wanted. The masjid was where they prayed, where they would hear their grandfather give lectures and sermons, where he would sit and hold sessions. It is where they would play. It is where they would roam around and sit and entertain themselves, and it was where they would, as we'd say today, it's where they would hang out from morning till night. Thus, obviously, Rasulullah's character would have the most amount of influence on Imam Hussein and Rasulullah. What's interesting is that when Rasulullah died, Imam Hussein wasn't too old. Like we said yesterday, he was maximum 9 years old, even though historians say that he was much younger. But even though he was that young, he had memorized a lot of hadith and narrations by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. One of his famous narrations, in which he stated when he left Medina towards Kufa and then from Karbala, he said, أيها الناس سمعت جدي رسول الله يقول من رأى منكم سلطانا جائرا ناكثا لعهد الله يعمل في عباد الله بالإثم والعدوان ولم يغير عليه بقول ولا بفعل كان حقا على الله أن يدخله مدخله. He said, I heard my grandfather Rasulullah say that he of you who sees an oppressor, who is a tyrant,
Yes.
who works as in a tyrannical way and doesn't do anything about it, then he deserves to be put where he deserves. This is only one hadith that Imam Hussein had memorized from his grandfather. That means that Imam Hussein had spent a lot of time with his grandfather in order to memorize these hadith, to learn them, to understand them, to comprehend them. Thus, by far, Rasulullah was his first teacher.
Now, we do mention that Imam Hussein alayhi salam was very young, and he was brought up by probably the best characters that history ever saw. What would you say his role was during the time that Imam Ali alayhi salam was a Khalifa? Did he play a prominent role, or was he still in the background, given the Ummah's situation at that point?
Sure. I'll give you my reading of history and my analysis of the events. We have to remember that Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam was oppressed. The Khilafah was hijacked from him. It was taken from him.
Stolen, yes.
His right was stolen. Fatimah al-Zahra was kidnapped from him. Fatimah al-Zahra was kidnapped. She was stolen. She was taken away from him at the age of 18, according to some historians. Thus, he lost his wife, who was his backbone, who was his major support. He had lost Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, also his major support, and his best friend and his brother and his father-in-law and his teacher. He lost his main supporters, and the Khilafah was taken from him. Now you can imagine the tragedy upon the heart of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. Amir al-Mu'mineen was extremely oppressed by his own nation.
Yes.
Who would have thought that for 23 or 24 years, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam kept on reminding his companions that after me, don't go anywhere other than Ali ibn Abi Talib. He's the man. You don't go anywhere else. He's the man after me. For 24 years, from the beginning of the revelation, from Hadith al-Dar, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the verse وَأَنذِرْ عَشِيرَتَكَ الْأَقْرَبِينَ, until Yawm al-Ghadir, from Yawm al-Dar till Yawm al-Ghadir.
Yes.
until the day of Ghadir. Rasulullah repeatedly appointed Amir al-Mu'mineen and put him. Now all of a sudden this nation turns its back on Amir al-Mu'mineen. In reality, it turned its back on Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam,
Yes.
ignoring his will and going to others.
And that
Major
parallels,
conspiracy.
sorry for cutting you, that parallels really well with what you said yesterday when you said Imam Ali's life resembles Harun alayhi salam's, the Prophet Harun's alayhi salam's life a lot, in the essence that the people turn back
Exactly.
whenever they came to.
Exactly. When Musa alayhi salam left Harun,
And he hadn't even passed away yet.
and he hadn't passed away, he was still alive, when he took his companions, 70 of his men, to go to see Allah, as the Quran says. Of course they could not see Allah, but they went to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Of course this was very metaphoric, and it's impossible to see Allah. He left Harun over his people for 40 nights. For 40 nights. During these 40 nights, people turned away from worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They started worshipping the statue of a calf.
Yeah. That's
A major resemblance to the life of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. That Rasulullah was barely gone, was barely even buried. They gathered at Saqifat Bani Sa'd. No one even came
they
and
didn't pay
asked.
their respects.
They didn't pay their respects. They didn't ask who's going to wash Rasulullah, who's going to put his kafan on, who's going to bury him. They were busy at Saqifat Bani Sa'd. Anyhow, my point is, who was there to console Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam? Who was there to share his agonies and share his pain? Of course, it was his two sons, al-Hassan and Hussein. And perhaps Imam al-Hassan and Imam al-Hussein were even more hurt for their father. Amir al-Mu'mineen wasn't hurt for himself. Amir al-Mu'mineen, one thing about him, and what people need to realize, that if Amir al-Mu'mineen, after the death of Rasulullah, he sat at home, he was upset. He wasn't upset for himself that the Khilafah was taken from him. One wise man once eloquently put it, he said, the Khilafah, Amir al-Mu'mineen was not in need of the Caliphate and the Khilafah. The Khilafah and the Caliphate was in need of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. And it wasn't the other way around. Thus, Amir al-Mu'mineen had nothing to lose. Amir al-Mu'mineen had nothing to lose. It was the Muslims that lost everything when they didn't have Amir al-Mu'mineen as the leader.
Yes.
However, his two sons, I would imagine al-Hassan, al-Hussein, I can imagine their agony. I can imagine their pain. They're saying their father, his right was taken away. Their mother was martyred, was killed in broad daylight, in front of all Muslims in the city of Medina. It's not that it happened in another city. In broad daylight, their mother was attacked and killed. Her house was
And
threatened.
everybody
It was
stayed quiet.
And everybody stayed quiet. This is what happens to their father. The land of Fadak was taken away. I could only imagine the pain in their hearts. But who could they go and complain to? Al-Hassan and Hussein never complained. All they did was kept it in their heart. Thus, it's extremely difficult. When you think about it, it was extremely difficult for Al-Hassan and Hussein to sit and watch their father being oppressed. Sometimes the children, when someone is oppressed, the children feel more sorry for that individual because it's their father, it's their parent. Nevertheless, they supported Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. They obeyed him.
So perhaps one of the most prominent features was the fact that they were able to stay patient no matter what happened, and just giving Imam Ali alayhi salam that support to keep going.
Absolutely. They gave him the support, but at the same time they saw that during these 25 years, because from the death of Rasulullah till the ascension of Amir al-Mu'mineen to the Khilafah, to the apparent Khilafah, otherwise Amir al-Mu'mineen was the Khilafah,
You cannot take Imamate from him.
from the second that Rasulullah's life was taken away, from the moment that he died. But 25 years after he publicly became the Khalifa, it was 25 years. During these 25 years, time and time again, they saw their father being betrayed,
Yes.
being backstabbed, being disrespected,
Yes.
being disobeyed. And it didn't end there. When Amir al-Mu'mineen became Khalifa, they saw the betrayal once again. Amir al-Mu'mineen during these 5 years, he spent it all in civil wars.
Sadly.
In civil wars. Why? Unfortunately, recently, it's being circulated in some circles that one of the scholars has stated that Amir al-Mu'mineen was a failure.
Really?
One of our own scholars from the school of thought of Ahlulbayt. Now, I hope that he doesn't mean this literally, and I hope that the circulation is being taken out of context. But if this is true, this is very sad to say that Amir al-Mu'mineen was a failure. Why? Because he couldn't expand the Islamic nation during these 5 years. Instead, he spent it all in civil wars.
Is that why the UN quotes him to this date about the government he had?
Ahsant. Plus, let's ask, why did he spend it all in civil wars? Because people couldn't handle his justice.
To the extent of injustice that had happened for 25 years.
Ahsant. People got used to injustice.
Yeah.
Now, all of a sudden, Ali ibn Abi Talib wants to put things back into their place. All the money that was taken back, and the money that was taken needs to go back. All the policies need to be fixed. No one can handle his justice. And he had told them that. When they came and they asked him to be the Khalifa,
Yes.
he said, أنا لكم أمير أنا لكم وزير خير مني لكم أمير. Let me be an advisor for you, better than me being an Amir for you. Because Amir al-Mu'mineen knew they couldn't handle it. And that's exactly what happened. 3 civil wars.
And it's funny how much they were pushing for him. They were so adamant of having him the Khalifa, the position he was supposed to have.
Right.
Because the people had seen the reign of the first 3, and they were disgusted by where
They realized the mistake.
Yes.
They realized the mistake, and they were trying to correct the mistake. But the mistake was done. It was unerasable. It was too late. Amir al-Mu'mineen came to power, but after 25 years of injustice and tyranny and changing all the policies of Rasulullah, it wasn't 5 years were not enough for Amir al-Mu'mineen to come back to take back things to the way Rasulullah had. Now, Al-Hassan and Hussein, they saw this. They saw how Amir al-Mu'mineen kept on being backstabbed. From one point, you had Muawiyah from Sham gathering an army to fight Amir al-Mu'mineen. On the other hand, his own people, his own followers, the Khawarij.
Yeah.
The Khawarij were the followers of Amir al-Mu'mineen.
The Battle of Siffin, yeah.
They were part of the Battle of Siffin. They stood with Amir al-Mu'mineen. But because of the arbitration and the sulh with Muawiyah, everyone knows the story. They turned against Amir al-Mu'mineen and they fought him in the Battle of Nahrawan. And then you had the Battle of Jamal, the wife of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. She leads a battle against the Imam of her time.
And she cost over 18,000 people.
Over 18,000, maybe even more. Some historians say over 40,000
Really?
men were killed in the Battle of Jamal. While Bukhari himself narrates and other Sunni sources narrate, من خرج على إمام زمانه مات ميتة الجاهلية. That he who rises against the Imam of his time will die a pagan death. And they all narrate in their history books that Aisha rose against the Imam of her time. No doubt, no one doubts that Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib, at that time, he was the Imam of his time. Even if they don't acknowledge that he was the first Imam, they definitely acknowledge that he was the 4th Imam. He was definitely an Imam. Aisha rose against the Imam of her time.
And today you see they excuse it as a mistake. They say
It was a mistake, and she sought forgiveness. We never heard of Aisha seeking forgiveness for this sin.
It's funny, I actually read a narration once. A woman once approached Aisha and she asked her, what is the hukum? What happens to a woman who kills her own son? She said, hellfire. And then the woman asked her, O al-Mu'mineen, you've killed over 18,000 of your sons in that war. What is your position?
She remained quiet.
She remained quiet.
She received the message. Yes, unfortunately. Al-Hassan and Hussein were in this position, especially Imam al-Hussein. He was there, he was seeing all this. And it's funny how history works. The same way that the people of Kufa, who were the Khawarij? The Khawarij were the people of Kufa.
Yeah.
A lot of them were his own followers, his own supporters.
Supposedly, yeah.
They turned against Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam and they backstabbed him. Funny how history works, because the same thing happened to Imam Hussein alayhi salam. And it's as if Imam Hussein could read the future and look in the future and see that these same people that supposedly supported his father and asked him to come to Kufa and give their allegiance and support, it's the same people that backstabbed his brother Imam al-Hassan, and then they would backstab Imam Hussein just a few years after that.
Now, you did mention Imam Hassan plenty of times throughout tonight's discussion. As you know, after Imam Ali alayhi salam died, for a very short period, Imam Hassan alayhi salam became the Khalifa. What would you say Imam Hussein's role was then, during Imam Hassan's time of the Khalifa?
This is a very good question, and it's we really have to give justice to Imam al-Hassan.
We have about 8 minutes, by the way. Just
8 minutes left. Sure, we'll make this very brief. Some say that we, followers of Ahlulbayt, we do injustice to Imam al-Hassan because we only give him one night out of the year during the night of his martyrdom, which is the 7th of the month of Safar, while we give 10 nights or a month or even 2 months for Imam Hussein alayhi salam. And indeed this is a form of injustice. Imam al-Hassan deserves many more nights. Imam Hussein was the younger brother of Imam al-Hassan. He respected him, he obeyed him. We have to realize that Imam al-Hassan was the Imam and Imam Hussein was a follower. He was the follower during the time of Imam al-Hassan. He had no say. He would not speak in the presence of his brother Imam al-Hassan. Not speak as in he wouldn't give orders. Perhaps he would give his opinion, but the opinion that mattered was the opinion of Imam al-Hassan. Imam al-Hussein was a loyal supporter and obedient follower of Imam al-Hassan. When Imam al-Hassan was performing the peace treaty with Muawiyah,
yes,
in which some saw this as a concession, it was a
form of weakness,
a form of weakness. It was a humiliation, which in reality, no. Imam al-Hassan was saving the Shia. He was protecting them.
Divine wisdom.
He was showing the true face of Muawiyah. Muawiyah had sent a blank page to Imam al-Hassan, and he signed underneath, meaning, let me be the Khalifa, but you tell me the conditions. He sent him a blank piece of paper saying, you tell me the conditions and I accept all of your conditions, and he signed. Imam al-Hassan had no excuse. He wanted to stop the bloodshed, he wanted to stop the killing, he wanted to stop the assassinations.
Just the cursing of Imam Ali alayhi salam.
He wanted to stop the cursing. Plus, Imam al-Hassan had no supporters. Muawiyah had bought off all of the army, most of the army generals of Imam al-Hassan, including some of his cousins. Muawiyah had bought them off. Thus Imam al-Hassan had no other choice. Some historians say that Imam Hussein was a bit reluctant about the peace treaty, but he conceded because this is his brother, he knows best, and he has to obey him. And indeed, Imam al-Hassan was doing the right thing. And in fact, Imam al-Hassan's peace treaty, it led to the revolution of Ashura.
Yes, he paved the way for
He
Imam Hussein.
paved the way for Imam Hussein. He showed the true face of Muawiyah and his son Yazid. He made people realize that Muawiyah is just
a hypocrite.
A hypocrite. He's a deceitful hypocrite. The only reason why he wants the Khilafah is for personal interest. He doesn't have the interests of Muslims in mind, and he paved the way for the revolution of Imam Hussein alayhi salam in the most successful manner.
Shukran Sayyidina. It was a very thrilling discussion. Once again, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
May Allah bless you.
Inshallah, we'll see you once again tomorrow, where we will further discuss the biography of Imam Hussein in the later years of his life.
Inshallah.
With that being said, dear viewers, we would like to conclude tonight's program. Actually, forgive me. Please join us after the program, where we have Sayed Haider al Jezani joining us from the UK, where he will be reciting some beautiful nasheeds for Imam Hussein alayhi salam in honor of his birthday. But for now, we would like to take a short break and say farewell to our dear Sayyid.
We actually forgot to mention that today marks the birthday of this channel.
Oh yes.
1 year after it was launched exactly a year ago.
Yes.
The English channel, Imam Hussein English channel. While the Farsi channel was launched 5 years ago, exactly
6 years. The Farsi channel was 6 years ago.
6 years ago.
Yes, and the Arabic channel was about 3 years.
3 years ago. All launched on the birthday of Imam Hussein.
Yes.
The channel of Imam Hussein.
And that's something that we pride ourselves in, that we do everything in honor of Abu Abdullah.
Alhamdulillah. May Allah bless those who are working very diligently and very dedicatedly on this channel, spreading the message of Imam Hussein all across the globe with these 3 very dedicated channels.
Inshallah. Thank you very much, Sayyidina.
May Allah bless you. Jazakumullah khairah.
with that being said, please join us in a few minutes where we will be joined by Sayed Haider al Jezani, and we would like to say farewell to our beloved Sayed Hossein.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sayyidina.
Rahmatullah. Afadakumullah.
Again, respected viewers of Imam Hussein TV, welcome back. As you know, we are joined here tonight by Sayed Haider al Jezani. Assalamu alaikum, Sayyid. How are you?
Alhamdulillah.
As you know, Sayyid Haider has been here for a few days now, and he has gifted us with his voice for the past few nights, and inshallah we look forward to hearing from you for the next few nights, inshallah, in honor of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Before we begin with your nasheeds and your recitations, I was asked to do a brief history lesson on when exactly this channel started, because as you know, not only is it the birth date of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, tonight marks the birth date of the channel of Imam Hussein TV itself. As you know, this channel has been doing everything for the sake of Imam Hussein, for the sake of Imam Zaman Ajrallahu Ta'ala Faraja, and thus we would like to give the viewers a little bit of insight on how exactly the channel started. Well, to keep it short, once upon a time in Isfahan there was a group of followers of Sayyid Sadiq Shirazi, and they had put together a Husseiniya, a hayat in Iran, in Isfahan, where they would do majalis of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. And what would happen is over tens of thousands of Iranians would come to these majlis and would take part in the blessed recitations and lamentations of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. What happened later on is after these people who started this hayat under the command of Sayyid Sadiq Shirazi, Ayatollah Sayyid Sadiq Shirazi, they went to Sayyid Sadiq to see what they can do more for Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Sayyid Sadiq instructed them that, you know, what you're doing right now is attracting tens of thousands of people. I want you guys to give the name of Imam Hussein. I want the entire universe to know about Imam Hussein alayhi salam. So what he told his followers is that he wants them to come up with a channel that will be global, that will get the entire world remembering the tragedy of Imam Hussein alayhi salam and really recognizing what exactly happened here in Karbala. Now these people that started the Husseiniya actually had no experience in actually formulating a channel. They had no idea how to put together a channel. So when they heard Sayyid Sadiq tell them this, what they did is they said, okay Sayyid, we are going to take a couple of months, we are going to research this, and we're going to come up with it. So they went ahead and they researched for over 3 months on how to put together a channel, all with the intention of bringing Abu Abdullah's name into the household of everyone around the world. After 3 months of coming together, they came up to the Sayyid, they told him, this is how much we've done research, this is what we need. It's going to be a very hard task. Sayyid Sadiq at this point tells them that there's a man in Kuwait by the name of Usman al-Khamis. Now you can research this guy. He's a very rich person in Kuwait. And what had happened is this person, he belongs to the Salafi school of thought. And what he wanted to do is buy the name of Imam Hussein TV. And he wanted to put a channel which attacks the Shias and infiltrates our beliefs. When they asked him, why do you want to do this? He replied by saying, because Imam Hussein is the ark of salvations for the Rafidis, for the Shias, and I want to make Imam Hussein the ark of their destruction. Imagine that. So Sayyid Sadiq tells his followers that, there's a man, he wants to do it. I need you guys to come up with this channel as soon as possible. And alhamdulillah, with the tawfiq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, 3 months later, on the 3rd of Sha'ban, the first ever Imam Hussein TV channel was launched in the language of Farsi. From there, with the help of supporters and stuff, they were able to expand. They were able to put together programs, and all of the Raduds, all the reciters would come on this channel where they would, with the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they would get bigger and they would get more famous and they would be invited to more and more places until Imam Hussein TV became a name out there. From there, what happened is that these followers of Sayyid Sadiq decided that Farsi is only one language, and we are very limited in this Farsi scope. So what we want to do is we want to expand to the Arabic world. So 2 years later, on the 3rd of Sha'ban, the Arabic channel was released. As you know, the channel began to expand, and with more and more time, the people became more and more experienced. The more and more helpers came along, and from there they finally decided that in the year 2013 they are going to put together Imam Hussein TV3, which will attack the audience, which will not, forgive me, not attack, which will forgive me, which will reach out to the English-speaking world, which is predominantly in the UK and in the Western European and in North America. And alhamdulillah, we're sitting here 1 year later, Imam Hussein TV3, in honor of Abu Abdullah's birthday. This is also the birth of the channel, and we are blessed to be here, hoping that we are doing the right thing in honor of Imam Zaman Ajjallahu Ta'ala Faraja. With that being said, that concludes the little biography of Imam Hussein TV and how he came about. Joining us once again is Sayed Haider al Jezani. Let us get back to you, Sayyid Haider. Sayyid Haider, now could you show us what you've prepared for us tonight in honor of Abu Abdullah?
Yes, no problem. Firstly, it's an honor to be amongst my master on his birthday, and also the birthday of, should we say, the birthday or the launch birthday for Imam Hussein TV as well. It's really an honor to be here. The atmosphere outside, mashallah, people already clapping and chanting in the middle of the streets. It's amazing, alhamdulillah, shukr.
Now you're usually here in the time of Arba'een, so there's a big difference.
It is. It's my first time during happy season, as you say. every year I come here for Arba'een with my shabab from London. We come with a group of about 20 people. We call us the Shabab Rasul Al-A'zam. We're from London. We come here every year, but in Arba'een we haven't come, but inshallah, Allah wafiqna, inshallah, we come for Sha'baniya all together,
inshallah,
with the blessings, inshallah. Small poem. It marks the birth of Imam Hussein and also the birth of the heroes of Karbala.
Ahsant.
So inshallah,
please
go ahead, inshallah. This is Karbala's month, Hussein born on the 3rd, born on the 4th the moon, the 5th Imam Sajjad. This month Karbala glows in awe of its heroes. Abu Sajjad's Sajjad, Hossein and his brother, 2 sons and a moon make this month like no other. Welcomes Sha'ban, Karbala, lit up in pride and honor for its loved ones. She lives in awe each lover. Each man wants to be with her, and she listens. She decorates her wonder. On her beauty men ponder. Her sand sweetens. She perfumes each visitor, leaving the hearts so tender. For 3 lions, leaving all within her crush, smitten by a city lush. For 3 names, a lover's hush.
Ahsant. Thank you, Sayyid. That was a beautiful recitation.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Inshallah, we look forward to having you on the show much more often.
Most definitely, inshallah.
Inshallah, you can make it to Karbala more often as well. So
inshallah, bidu'akum, inshallah.
Inshallah, Sayyidina. Well, with that being said, this concludes tonight's program. Was there any words you want to give to our viewers right now? Or?
Wallahi, a message, of course, is always spread the message of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. No matter where you are. You know, whether in school, anywhere, spread the message of Imam Hussein, because there is no message more beautiful than about it. So, inshallah, spread the message, and don't forget to du'as.
And inshallah, we'll be sincere when we spread the message of Abu Abdullah, so that we can all have the tawfiq of coming down here and serving him.
Inshallah.
It's truly an honor to be in your presence again.
It's an honor to be in your presence and amongst this channel, amongst my Mulla, Abu Abdullah al-Hussein.
Thank you very much, Sayyidina. With that being said, dear viewers of Imam Hussein TV, we would like to thank you for joining us tonight on this blessed evening of the birth date of our 3rd Imam, Imam Hussein alayhi salam. And finally, we would like to end the show by making a short dua for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to hasten the reappearance of our beloved 12th Imam, Imam Sahib al-Asri wa Zaman, Ajralallahu ta'ala faraja. Allahumma ajil la waliyak al-faraj, wa sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa alihi al-tahirin, wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you.
حبيب انت الحبيب العايش بدلالي، غيرك بهذا الكون ما يحلالي. انت الحبيب العايش بدلالي، غيرك بهذا الكون ما يحلالي. غالي 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 يا ابو السجاد، حبك غالي.